Rajin. I have last 4 years and I am doing Salesforce as an independent consultant. Okay, so I completed my administrative as well as the development certifications, and I am a ranger in Clarinet. Okay, that's what about myself. So this session is all about introduction to hoops and Apex. You guys might have completed admin part. Is it?
Yes.
Hello. I want you guys to be, interactive in this session.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes, of course. Great.
Okay. Yes.
You might have heard about declarative development.
Uh-huh.
Have you guys heard about declarative development?
Yes.
Yes. Can you tell something about declarative development? Any one of you guys?
Declarative is like without coding we can do. It's not like the customization one. Like if we need any customization, then we need to use that coding part.
Great. Yeah, that's great. So what all are the declarative parts you might have come across in admin?
Right from creating objects, everything.
Okay. You might have seen process builder, you might have seen workflow, you might have seen flows. So those all are the things point and click, and that's called as declarative development. Okay. So already declarative development is available in Salesforce. Then what is the need for us to go for programmatic development in Salesforce? Actually, the answer for this question is, it's in the slide. It's customized application. For example, if you are having an application which already built, but the requirement might be, you need to customize the application. Or sometimes there may be a requirement may come like that. There is already existing functionality, and client or your company might want you to extend that functionality. At that point of time, the requirement may not be fulfilled with declarative development. For example, you can say like that, there may be some chances that you might need to develop a single page application with reusable components. What do you mean by single page application? So let's see. This is a particular website. You guys can able to see my screen? No issues with that?
Yes, we can see.
Okay. Okay, you can able to see a particular website, that's Aegis Skill Development. In the Aegis Skill Development website, at the top of the website, you might have seen a menu and those kinds of things. This is maybe a component. And when scroll down, at the bottom, the left hand side, you might have a component. In the right side, this information might be a component. From user perspective, when you look into this particular website, you may see it's a single website, but it may consist of so many components. So that's what meant by single page application with reusable components. And sometimes the requirement may be a complex scenario, so it's really very difficult for you to fulfill that business requirement with a declarative development. At that point of time, there is a need to go for programmatic development. Guys, have any questions in this?
So far, no, we are good.
Okay, that's great. So shall we move on to the next slide? Yeah. So in programming, there is a concept called procedural programming and object-oriented programming. Okay, there are many categories. These are the two major categories: procedural programming versus object-oriented programming. What do you mean by procedural programming? You might have heard about a programming language called C. Is it?
Yes.
You guys, in your lifetime, maybe heard about C programming language?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a procedural-oriented programming language because it will execute the statement from your start and it will end. Okay, in C programming language, there will not be any user interactive part. Okay, for example, let's say there is a button. If the user click that button, something needs to happen, means that will not, you can't do it in procedural oriented programming language. So procedural, it's a sequential manner, it will happen and it will produce the result and it will stop. Okay. And it will use variables and loops. that we will explain you clearly in the upcoming sessions. Okay. In object-oriented programming, there is a jargon called classes. You will be using dealing with classes. Okay. In the next slide, I will explain you what is meant by class and what is meant by object. So object-oriented programming plus point is it's a reusability. You can write your logics once and you can use it many times. Okay. Whenever you need a requirement, you can make use of the particular code. That's what the advantage of object-oriented programming. Okay. And object-oriented programming provides more security in terms of access modifiers. Okay. There is a keyword called private, public, those kinds of things are there. They are called as access modifiers. So it provides security. So in short and sweet, if you tell object-oriented programming, code reusability as well as it gives security to your programming. Okay. Okay, this is what the picture about object-oriented programming is. It's a OOPS concept, object-oriented programming. In object-oriented programming, you will be writing your programs in a class. Okay, let's say car is a class. You can have different types of cars. Okay, for example, different brands you can create from a single class. A class can have different properties. Let's say there may be a model, there may be a make. Using that particular properties, you can change your own, you can customize your own thing. So that's the first point of object-oriented programming. Any doubt regarding this?
No.
In the detailed sections, we will go it practically step by step. So I don't think that there will be any issue with that. Okay. So these all are the building blocks of object-oriented programming. In an object-oriented programming, you will be writing your code in the term called class. Okay. To access that particular programming, you will be writing, you will be creating objects and abstraction, polymorphism, and inheritance. These all are the facilities being provided in OOPS concept to provide security and extractability. So these things are provided with, abstraction, polymorphism, inheritance. These things provide in object-oriented programming. Okay. So I think you might not have, programming background. So this might be, little bit new words you might be hearing, but we will explain it one by one clearly in code. Okay. In programming part, there is a software architecture pattern is there. So that is called MVC, Model View Control Architecture. In many of the reasons, the programming language is using this architecture. For example, if you say .NET programming language, or if you say Java, so majority of the programming languages using MVC as a software architecture pattern. Let's see what is meant by MVC. Okay, so MVC stands for Model View Controller. Actually, you are breaking the things into pieces. That's what told about MVC. For example, from end user point of view, you are going to see a website that is called view. From end user point of view, that is called view. In Salesforce, you might have heard about objects. Is it? So most of the time you will be dealing with objects. Can you guys, tell a couple of objects?
Standard object, custom object, account, opportunity lead. Those are the standard ones.
There may be an interesting concept. So what all are the types of objects available in Salesforce? The categories of objects available.
Is it standard object and custom object?
And?
Sorry, I'm not getting the third.
Okay, you have standard objects, custom objects, and you have system objects also. For example, profiles. Okay, your profiles are being stored in a particular object. Okay, so user information also being stored in a object. So there are system objects. So that is called model. So model deal with objects, fields, and relationships. View deal with end user point of view, how the user interface should look. Okay, the color. Okay, the person view. So those things are called as view. And last comes the major part. That's what controller. That is what your business logic. Okay, So your business logic, for example, in a process builder, you might do different steps. For example, an account is being created, automatically a contact should be created. If that is the scenario, means you will be, building in process builder the blocks. Okay, so that is called business logic. In declarative programming, you will be doing with process builder the business logic. The same business logic you can implement in programmatic way of presentation. You may implement it in the controller. So the controller is the heart of your MVC architecture. It will consist of your business logic. And the programming language which is being used in Salesforce is called Apex. That Apex is used to build the business logics. So your Apex code will reside in the controller side. Your model consists of objects, fields, and relationships. View is the end user point of view, that is graphical user interface. So views are being built in Visualforce pages or Aura components, or it may be using Lightning Web components. You can use these components, you can create your view. So from end user point of view, it may be a single page, but the page itself contains different things. That is, it may contain a model, it may contain a view, it may contain a controller. So everything all together put together, this is called an MVC architecture pattern. So again, I'm repeating, this is really very, very important model that deal with object fields relationships. It's an interview question as well as certification point of view question. So what all are the things covered under model? So it's object fields and relationship. Controller consists of your Apex programming language.
I have a question here. Like, are you including API also in the training, the Salesforce API integration part?
Yes, definitely, of course. We will cover integration part, that is from Salesforce to outside the APIs, and from outside objects you can connect with Salesforce also. So those integrations and email integrations, everything will be integrations will be covered here. Right.
And in view, I can see we will be covering the lightning. So lightning, like how much there is any we will be completing the entire lightning part, or there is any specific part we will be covering during this training?
Regarding that lightning, I have shared you the syllabus, right? Before this class, what are the curriculum we cover as part of the, see, this particular session is what we have designed for 20 to 25 hours. Basically, within this stipulated time, as a Salesforce developer in the intermediate level, what are the things you should be aware? Those things will be covered. And we have shared you the curriculum also. If you need, we can also share the curriculum once again. But if you're looking for a kind of I want to become an advanced developer, yes, this 25 hours will not be enough for that kind of training. Maybe we need to add a couple of 10 to 15 hours sessions for advanced developer. As a beginner and as an intermediate developer, this syllabus and this course, it would be sufficient. Okay.
So this, I mean, you mean to say this won't be like in depth if I'm picking that Visualforce page or Aura component, so that will be just a glimpse of those topics, or
that's what I'm saying. It is not just a glimpse. It will covers you the intermediate. For example, if you are a developer and if you are having a 4 years or 5 years of experience, how much exposure you will be having in the development area? That level of exposures can be covered as part of this training. You can very well put it in your resume that you have a 5 years of experience in a developer. With this live training, as well as the live use cases, we are going to work for you and also going to give you as an assignments. You got it?
Yeah.
All right. Thanks. You continue, Nagaraj.
Okay, thank you. So as Ashok showed, as Ashok told you, we will be having case studies. Once you completed the basic stuff with Aura components and LWC, you can do the case studies. The case studies will give you, more idea about, about the things which you are learning in these sessions. And after that, above all, you can go for trial and you can do the super patches. The super patches in the trial are very much similar to doing a project. So with the basic ideas, you get into the training session. After that, you can transfer it and you can transform it by doing those things. So you will definitely get a clear idea about those things. But Very, very important thing is you need to work out, you need to sit in front of the system, and you need to find time to work on. Okay, fine. So any clarification here regarding MVC model view control architecture pattern?
No,
Anyone?
no,
That's
yeah.
fine. Okay. Okay. Apex programming. As far as Apex programming is concerned, it's a strongly typed programming language. For example, you might have heard about JavaScript. Is it? So JavaScript is not a strongly typed programming language because, for example, I want to declare a variable without any data type. I can easily declare a variable. So Apex programming is not like that. It's a strongly typed object-oriented programming language. And the important part, where the Apex program will run. The Apex program will run in the server side. In a web-based application, you might have heard about server side and client side. Okay. For example, you are running Gmail. So Gmail will be opening the Gmail in your browser. So in your browser is called client side programming. Okay, that is called client side. The Gmail will come from the Google server. That server is called server side. So your code will be the Apex programming will be in the server side. It will executed, it will be compiled in the server, and the HTML part will be transferred to your browser. Your browser can be able to process only the HTML, JavaScript, and the CSS things. So Apex usually run in server side. Okay, so that's why it is called as server side programming language. Your business logic will be implemented in Apex and it will run in server side. And it supports primitive and collection variables. I will explain you what is meant by variables in the next slide. If you don't have any programming background, you might have heard first time about variables. I will explain you in the next slide what is meant by variables. And it supports object-oriented programming as like any other object-oriented programming language. Apex also supports objects, functions, and methods, those kinds of things. Okay. This is an interesting part, how Apex works. As I told you, there is a cloud that's called internet. In the left-hand side, the developer is there. Developer used to, build the business logic in his system using Apex, and he will deploy it into the server. On the right-hand side, you have your application server, which consists of, compiler, which will compile your Apex code, and the Apex code will be, dealing with your database. That is your object. Okay. The data storage. You just imagine data storage, those all are the objects, okay, in Salesforce. So when an end user touches something, for example, I want to see the account record. So you will be doing, you will be logging into Salesforce and you will be giving, record ID. Automatically, you can able to get the record from the server. The process which happens is in any web programming language, in any web programming, in websites, this is what the working principle. A request will be sent from end user to server, and the request will be processed by the server, and the processed things will be sent back to the client or end user. This is what the working principle of web programming. So there will be a request, and for each and every request, there will be a response from the server. So your code will run in the server side, and it will deal with the database, that is your object, and the result will be fetched back to the end user. This is how Apex works. As I told you earlier, Apex runs in server side. The designing part, that is your HTML, CSS, will be sent back to the browser, and it will be processed in the browser. Okay, here comes variables and data types. In any programming language, there is the term called variable. So what is meant by variable? In mathematics, you might have heard x plus y is equal to something, and after that, evaluating that expression, you will be putting values for x is equal to 10. Let's say y is equal to 20. What it means, you are storing the values into x and y. So the same thing is in programming also called variable. So variable is used to store values. Why it is called variable means it may change its values at runtime. For example, at the start of the programming, x may contain 10. After evaluating an expression, x may change into 100. So that's why it is called a variable. Okay. So each and every variable will have a data type. What is meant by data type? The type of data you are storing. For example, AK skills. It's a string. It's a group of characters. So it's a different data type. For example, let's say 100. 100 is a number. Okay, it's a numeric data type. Okay, for example, 20.60. It's a decimal data type. For example, true or false. I'm telling true or false. It's a Boolean data type. So each and every data has a data type. The data type is connected with variables. Suppose if you want to use a variable in your program, you have to specify the data type of the variable. Okay. So what are the data types available in in Apex? Primitive data types. That's what the first thing. Primitive. Primitive, as I explained you, it consists of integers. You can store the whole numbers. That is called integer, and you can store the decimals also. That is called the double, and long. That is the difference between the number of values, maximum values you can use to store. And you have a date in the sense there will not be time covered. Suppose if you want to store a date and time, you can make use of the data type, date and time, and you have a string and you have an ID. You might have heard about record ID. Is it? What is the use of record ID? Anyone? What is the use of record ID? Hello.
Record ID related to what? I mean, I didn't get the question. Can you repeat again?
What is the use of ID in Salesforce?
ID is
Every record will have an
unique.
ID.
We can
Yeah,
fetch
that
the
is a unique
data on the basis of
identifier.
ID. Yeah.
We can
That's a unique identifier of your record. Okay. You can't have two records with same ID. Is it? So that is a unique kind of data type which is being used in Apex also. And you have Boolean. Okay, that's a primitive data type. And then you have collection. For example, let's say in account you have 100 records. I want to store that 100 records into Apex. Means I will prefer list. So list consists of an ordered collection of records from your object. So you can fetch a record from any object you want. For example, it may be account or it may be contact. You can fetch those records and you can store it into your list. And next comes set. Okay, the difference between list and set is list is an ordered one. Okay, set is an unordered one and it will not allow duplicate. For example, I want to store 100 values into my set. Okay, my 100 values, they contain duplicates, and I want to remove those duplicates in a single stretch. Means it's better to store it into a set. It will automatically remove the duplicate. But removal of duplicate things will not happen in this. So depending upon your requirement, you can choose what type of variable. That's what you have to decide. It's up to your programmer to decide what kind of variable I have to choose for my business requirement. If I want to remove the duplicates, I can go for set. If I want to store all the records, I can go for list. And the last collection part is map. Map is a combination of key value pair. For example, as we told already, each record will have an ID value. Okay, so based on that ID value, you will be having the information for a single record. You can store ID and its corresponding data in map. Okay, so map is a combination of key value pair. Key is your ID and value is your record information. So these are the three types of collections being used in Apex. And next comes S object. S object in the sense, for example, I am going to get the 100 record information from an account object in the sense, the account objects in programming part are represented in the form of S object. It may be a single S object or it may be a list of S objects. I am going to retrieve a single record in the sense, you can store it into an S object. Suppose if I am going to retrieve 100 records means I need to store it into a list of S objects. So that is what's called as S object. So S object is a special data type being used in Apex to represent the record retrieved from your objects. And the last one is enums. Enums is it's a collection of constants. So through the programming classes, we will see one by one. So here comes the practical part, how you can write your first Apex class. I'm going to explain you how you can do your first Apex class in Salesforce. So let me switch on my. You might have familiar with Windows. Is it? So this one, I logged in into Salesforce. At the top of the screen, you have a gear icon. Can you guys able to see this gear icon? Hello.
Yes.
Okay, when you select this gear icon, you have an option called Developer Console. Can you see it? Developer Console.
Yes.
Yeah, you have a Developer Console. When you click that Developer Console, the new window will be popped up into your screen. Okay. Yeah, new window being popped up. This is what your programming playground. In the sense, you will be writing your Apex code in this window. Okay, this is called Developer Console. So, programmer used to write their codes in Developer Console. I will explain you how you can create a simple class in Apex. Okay, so initially let me close all the things. Okay, fine. I'm going to File, New. I'm going to select Apex class. Initially, you have to give the file name for your Apex class. For example, let's say, this is my first class. So I'm going to give test first. Okay. See, immediately, and class is automatically created. Can you able to see this in your screen, guys?
Yeah, we can see.
Yeah. So this is your first class. So you have created an Apex class. So when you initially created an Apex class, there will be just a wrapper. There will not be any context like that. Initially, it will start a class in Apex. Will initially start with public, okay, and then the keyword class, and then the class name. That's the syntax. Public is called as access modifier. Access modifier means, this is what I told you already. In classes, object-oriented programming, you can use security. Okay, so by providing this class as a public, anyone can able to use this particular class. Okay, so a class consists of a function, or you can call it as a method. Okay, so a function means your logic will be reserved inside this function. So in a single class, there may be, so many functions right there. So I will explain you how you can write a simple class. For a simple function, I'm going to write a function public. Okay, void display. This is what my function. So I have written a small function. So again, function also starts with access modifier public and void. Void in the sense this function will not return any value back. Okay, so those things we will see in the regular classes. A lot void. This is what function name. So display is my function name. Display is the function name. Inside that, I'm going to print something on the screen. If you want to print something in the screen, you will be using a method called system.debug. Okay. See guys, when I started to type something in the screen, automatically the entire syntax is coming up. This is called IntelliSense editor. So if you are having an IntelliSense editor, means there is no need to keep memorize everything into your head. Okay. So if you can able to start the thing, for example, it will start with the debug or something like that, means I can try with typing DE, automatically the syntax will be displayed. Okay, so it will be easy for a developer. So debug, I'm going to print something. Okay, let's say
So do we need to install this intelligent, what you were saying right now, or it's
my function? So I have written a small function system.debug. Welcome to AJSQL. And you can save it. So this is a class, simple class, Apex class. I'm having a simple class. So inside the class, I'm going to have a function that is called display, and this display function, have a method called system.debug. It will print welcome to AJSQL in your screen. Okay, so let me run this particular. So let me save it. Save your program, and you have to do it. Okay, to run this program, you can go for anonymous window. Okay, when you come at the top of the menu, you will be having open execute anonymous window. Okay, open execute anonymous. This is the window. Here you can test your classes over here. You can test your classes over here. Okay. So to execute a class, initially you need to create an object for the class. I know I already explained you in my slide. Class, you can access the classes using objects. In the car slide, you might have seen different kinds of cars are over there. So that is called a different version of your class. So I'm going to create an object for the class. So I'm going to create test first and then OBJ. OBJ is called object, or you can call it as a variable. So I'm going to create a variable for the class test first. In technical point of view, when you are going to create a variable for a class, you will call it as an object. Okay. So from technical perspective, we will call it as an object, or you can say it's a variable. Initially, you need to use the keyword new. The keyword new is used to create a memory for this class. So new, and then you have to specify the class name. Fine. Initial step is over. So first you need to create an object for the class. So I have created an object for the class. What is the syntax for creating object for the class? Class name, and then your variable. This OBJ may be anything. It may be a or it may be E or whatever it may be, because it's a name only. So I'm going to create an object. How you will create object for a class? You will be using the keyword new, and then your class name. So your object will be created. Using the object only, you can also access your members. That is your function. Let's say in the test class, you have a function called display. If you want to access this function, as far as the OOPS concept is concerned, you need to create object for your class. So in the first step, I have created object for the class. So next step, I'm going to call my function. So object dot display. Okay. Object dot display. So the syntax for calling your function is your object name dot your function. So my function name is display, so I'm going to call it. So I need to run this to get the output. So at the bottom of the anonymous window, you will be having a button called execute. So having a button called execute. So I'm going to click this button execute to test my output. Okay. So how it comes. So it will be being executed. Yes. In the log pan, you can able to see it. In the log tab, you can able to see that this process has been completed. To see the output, you can double click it. I'm going to double click this window. Okay. So the things which you are seeing in your screen is the log, entire log. What all are the process being happen? When I started to run this program. So when I started to run this program, these are all the things being happen. To see the exact output, we are using system.debug. I will come to ASCII, and you can find it here. To see the exact output, at the bottom of the screen, you can able to see the different kinds of governor limits which are being used in Apex. I'm going to click debug only. There is a checkbox called debug only. I'm going to click this debug only. Now I can able to see the output which I want. So if you are using system.debug, using this debug only mode, you can able to extract the exact output. Now you got the output of welcome to AJ Skills. So to open the anonymous window, again going to debug, open execute anonymous. This is how you can create a simple class in Apex, and how you can able to create a function, and how you can able to access your function. So I'm going to revise this once again. To write a class, you have to use the access modifier public, class, and your class name. So your class is basically consists of your business logic. It may contain variables. For example, if I want to store a value means I can declare integer x is equal to 100. Okay. Okay, here, so this is called a variable x, and it's a data type of integer, and it contains a value of 100. And at the bottom, I have a function which is used to print a string in the screen. So a class basically consists of variables as your function. Suppose if I want to use this x in my anonymous window, I can call it as object.x. Like that, you can able to access your variables. So to access your class numbers, First step, you need to create object for your class. Object is nothing but a variable. X, you will be calling this X as variable, but you are calling this OBJ as an object because it is in terms of class. So we are calling it as an object. This is in terms of a variable, simple variable. It's a primitive type, so you are calling it as a variable. Okay, so ultimately at the end of the day, both are same, but from technical perspective, we will be calling it as an object. So how you will create an object? You will be using the keyword new and then the class name. And after that, using the object, you can display it. Okay. To get the output, you have to go to execute and you have to click it. The output will be displayed. So this is how you can use, you can write a simple Apex class in your developer console and using anonymous window, how you can execute it. So using this Apex class, you can have your own business logic. So those kinds of will be covered in the upcoming classes. Guys, do you have any queries or any doubts in this regard? Because I'm speaking for a long time. Guys, any doubt regarding this? Hello?
So far, I'm good.
No, Nagaraj.
Basically, the class calls the function. Is that what you are?
One second. Nagaraj, can you hear me? Nagaraj?
Hello?
Nagaraj, can you hear me? Okay, let me call him again. Okay, Nagaraj, can you hear me?
Yes, bro.
Okay, others. Okay.
Can I talk here?
Yeah, you are audible to it. Okay, guys, do you have any questions to Nagaraj based on this first session on the technical part? You want to clarify anything?
Yeah, I'm a little confused with this class and function. Does it mean, I mean, like we have to create the class first and then call the function in that? Is that how it is?
Yeah, I expected that, because you don't have the, programming background, initially it might be confusing, When you go through a couple of classes, it will be easy for you. Initially, you need to create a class. For example, let's say I'm going to write, one more file. I'm going to create new Apex class. Okay, I'm going to give a name called test me. So that's what the Apex class is. So initially a class will be created. So initially you will be having only a class. You don't have any variables or you don't have any method. And after that only you have to write your method or your variable. So the use of method is it will consist of your business logic. Your logics will be inside that. For example, let's say when creating an account record, I want to insert a contact also. That's what your business logic means. You will write it inside these functions. So initially you will have only a class and after that only you will be writing a function. Hello? Any other
Okay.
doubts?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, when you started to, practicing and writing, a couple of classes, it will be very clear to you. Initially, it will be a little bit confusing.
Okay.
When first time you're saying it.
Mhm.
No problem. You will be.
Yeah, especially the programming is, as Nagaraj told in the initially, it's just like Max. Okay, by seeing, yes, it will looks like, oh, like that. But when you started practicing, right, that you will come up with lot more questions and you will get a more clarity. See, at the end of every sessions for every topics, you will be provided with live use cases. Maybe you can call them as assignments or case studies, whatever you want. You will be start after the session. The session's recorded video will be uploaded in our drive. Maybe you can watch the video for your future reference. And also you will be provided with a live cases assignments. Just like if you're working in a company, how the people will give you the requirement to do the stuff, right? Similarly, we will also give you the live use cases. You can start work on that by doing practicing. Don't worry, we don't give you the full project entirely at the day one. Whatever the portions covered for the class, the assignments also will be given on top of it. So you can do practice on the session. And when the next session comes up, we have the trainer, you can share what and all you have completed and you can get it clear. We will also review what you have done. If you have done any mistakes, of course, we will correct that as well. Between one session to another session, obviously you will have a gap. You can make use of that interval to complete the assignments. I said you'll have 1 or 2 days a gap between one sessions to another sessions.
Oh, so I mean, it will not be a constant 5-day or whatever. There will be a gap, like alternative classes will be
Yes,
there.
yes, yes. So if it is an alternative class only, this kind of sessions will be more helpful for people like you, because you're all very new to the programming part, right? The constant classes, there is a chance you will not have a chance to work on the assignments, so that you will not get that continuation. So it is always recommended to have at least 1 day of gap between one session to another session, so that you will have a ample of time to work on the case studies, so that you will
So,
ask more questions.
so when are we expecting? Like, I thought it's a continuous classes and even weekends also there would be a class.
See,
So when we are,
conducting classes on a continuation, even we people are ready to continue and do the classes for even 2 hours or on the continuation basis. Regarding the classes, timings, and other such things, yes, maybe we can discuss over that and we can finalize. But this session, it's all about the demo session. I want to just get you touch with our trainer Nagaraj, and you should understand how the trainer would be and how he is teaching, and whether his pace, his language is fine for you, so that we can fix the trainer if you are comfortable. And based on that, we can do the further discussion, like scheduling the classes, timings, and the days. So
I have one more question. Does Nagraj, is it he is audible or?
yes, 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 he is also in this call.
Okay. So any experience with Aptus, Nagraj, like Aptus development or?
No, no, she's asking whether you have any experience on Aptus. No, as far as my knowledge, also Nagaraj don't have Aptus knowledge.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Any questions on this sessions? I mean, on this particular session, if you have questions on the demo, I mean, if you have questions on the sessions, timings and all, yes, I can, we can have separate call and we can discuss over it. And let's see how we can fix the timings and everything. But based on this particular session, this session is a pure introduction session for the development part. Very first step for the development. I hope you are clear with that. Do you have any questions or you want to clarify anything on the technical part with Nagaraj?
No.
Guys,
No.
okay. I hope you're all good with this particular session. Maybe let me, we can wind up this session for now. If you want to get clarify on the timings, sessions, days, you can touch base with me. We can discuss more on that. All right. All right. Thank you all. Thank you all for joining. And Nagaraj, do you want to convey anything? Yeah.
Yeah, before wind up, I want to say a couple of things.
Yes.
The first time those who are coming to programming, you need to spend a lot of time in front of your system, and you need to practice. That make really a good programmer. So if you spend more time, it will be easy for you. It will be very easy to grasp the things so fast, and you can be a good programmer. So for practice, you need to spend more time. So keep this in mind. All the best. Okay.
Yeah.
So we will see you in the next session.
Right. That's
Thank you,
true.
Rishab.
Yeah. Thank you,
Thank you,
Nagaraj. Thank you
Nagaraj.
so much for the wonderful session.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you all for joining. I can touch base with you later. Thank you all. Good
Thank
night.
you.
Bye.
Yeah, good night. Bye.